They were.
You all set?
Go down to Mackenzie.
Okay, let's call the meeting of the Bennington School District for April 1st. Under citizens' comments, on Sunday I met Ms. Hart at the Elks, and she gave me some real good, happy information. And I asked her if she would come this evening and present it to the board. I'm sure everybody will.
I'm very seated.
I don't think he's going to be able to hear you.
Okay, there you go. I'm very
But you
excited.
could put a seat up by the microphone if you'd be more comfortable.
Here, sit right at the table.
I'm very excited because we had the $30,000.
Would you just introduce yourself to the...
Yes, I'm Alma Jane Hart, and I'm here at Molly Stark. I'm the music and theater arts teacher. And we're very excited about a program that we have for Molly Stark for after-school programming. And we were able to have 25 classes. I have 100 students that have signed up. It's actually 350 students that we service all week. And it goes from Monday through Thursday, and we're able to have programs like Fun with Food, which is they go to different countries and they prepare different kinds of food from each country. A mystery bus that goes to different places of business here in the area. We have a computer time. We have crochet, ping pong, outdoor fun. We have 25 different classes that we're offering to the students. We have 85 Monday students, 75 on Tuesday, 65 on Wednesday, and 80 on Thursday. Sold out everything. I have maybe 2 crochet spots and 3 computer spots left. So it's been very exciting. And this year, we have a lot of problems with our students that can't make it to the program because of busing. And so we have 2 buses. We put one that comes at 4:30, one that comes at 5:30. And then I am also running a Susical program, which will be the show Susical Junior that will be performed in June. And they have a dance class, an acting class, a singing class, and then a blocking act, a backstage class. And that runs through the week for 2 hours for those kids. And right now we have 30 students in that program. So just real excited because it's just great for Molly Stark and our kids. So many of them don't want to go home. It's a great opportunity for them to be with friends and to get a snack and stay here. And we've just had a great week. I actually heard about it a week later. We got the flyers out. The week after that, we registered, and now we're in full-blown working here. Yeah, it's really great. Yes.
Is there no money for the other 2 schools or what?
What we did is we ran the program like we normally ran our after-school program, where it's $20 a class. We did make some money for our after-school programming for the future. So that was nice. And then I gave out scholarships. I was begging students to come. I gave scholarships to students, thank goodness, because we did have the money that we could offer it to them. And to have a great program and have the program really, take advantage of our students and our clientele was wonderful. Yeah, so we really appreciated it. Yeah, and thank you so much.
It's great. I missed where you got the funding.
It's our title money that's being distributed to all schools.
Okay.
Yep.
It's left in our title grants.
Somehow I missed it.
Yes, and it was a wonderful gift for us, and we thank you all so much for letting us, take advantage of this opportunity.
I'm sure the
And
kids-
you met with Donna Leap on this. She had put this all together, looked at what the balances were.
Yep,
and,
I put everything through her. I did a lot of paperwork. I've been doing a lot of paperwork. I'm still doing a lot of paperwork, but it was
sounds
worth
pretty exciting, yeah.
It was worth every minute, yes, to put it together and get it off the ground. We wanted to run it for 10 weeks, so we really had to push, to make that 10 week before June. So we run Monday through Thursday for 10 weeks. Yeah,
That's excellent.
One question.
sure.
You mentioned that there may be some students because of busing. Are we missing some students because we're unable to afford a bus?
After school.
After school?
Well,
Are
in
we
the
missing,
past,
are we missing some students because?
are. We
How many,
are.
roughly?
Well, I can tell you, I have, let's see, I can tell you that, actually. I think I've got about 40 students that are riding the bus at one time or another, not every day, but they're throughout the the program. I mean, that's 40 out of our 400, but these are students that have been wanting to take advantage of a program, but their parents don't drive, or, you know, they're working and they can't get here. That after-school bus piece is a huge for us. I think we'd have more if I could always offer it.
busing now.
It's difficult. It's a lot of money. They have two buses for me, one at 4:30, one at 5:30, and then they come one day a week on Monday and do a mystery bus where we go around the business. So, and DeFore has been wonderful. They have, he really gave me a nice price. I have pinched pennies with my staff and with everyone. I have 23 other staff members that are working with me, and they're fabulous. And like I say, you'd be real proud of me. I pinched pennies all the way. And it's really been difficult, but worth it, worth it. And we made it under the 30,000, so.
But are there some that, so do I take it that we're servicing all of the children that want to be serviced in this program? We're not missing any?
Well, I'll tell you, this is how many we're missing. Since my program, when I ran the registration, I was out here begging kids to come and serve, getting their parents to sign, and I've only had 5 other students that could not get in the program because I didn't have room anymore, that I couldn't put in the program. Now, I'm sure if I go into the classroom and I start talking to children, there are a lot more children out there that really need to take advantage. We have 400 and something students. So, when you talk about 150, that's not, it's a great program, and it's servicing a lot of students, but there's more out there. I'm determined to get them. But we did, my goal was to sell the program out, and we did. And the kids are so happy. Just the energy from them, makes everything worthwhile, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I thank you. I thank you very much.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Oh, and the Suzical Show, first Thursday and Friday of June. I think is that a third, fourth? It's the first Thursday and Friday of June. Come see Suzical. Is it? Okay, good. Thank you.
2:30 and 6:30.
Yes, 2 shows, so we'd love to have you. Yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no presentations this evening. The task list from last meeting?
So first, I just go down first on the list.
Yeah.
Was a presentation for this meeting, a Go Math presentation.
Or whenever?
When we said by the May meeting is
Oh,
what I
okay.
have, yep.
Okay. The next one, a presentation on instrumental music.
That's another request,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It'll be later.
And Frank Barnes to give a presentation on the tech grant in the near future.
Yeah. We have, sorry, they're not on our schedule for tonight, but we do have them, I gave them like 2 months to put it together for after that last meeting, so.
And a new member, Genevieve, meet with you. We did that.
We did that.
And a contact list for all the board members of everybody. And I did receive that.
Yeah, I got that.
Yep, Mary Lee did put that together, yes. Yep.
Okay, yeah, in process.
Some of the numbers are wrong, mine,
Okay, I'll make
but
that.
I contacted Mary.
You did
Lee.
contact her.
Yes. But she didn't put out a new one yet.
Maybe, yeah, she's waiting probably. Okay, thank you. Facilities, treasurer's report, our treasurer emailed me and said that the bank just produced the information she needs, and she wasn't able to get the treasurer's report out to us, so.
Yep,
we'll have
due to
wait.
the April 1st date, it's too early in the
Yeah,
month, she said,
that's
yeah.
what she said, so we don't have that. Rick, did you have something?
Yes, back in, somewhere during the budget process, the board had a conversation about doing energy improvements and facility upgrades in all of our buildings, and Jerry and I, over the last couple of years, has been talking about, with a couple of different, we talked to Johnson Controls and EEI, I forget what that stands for, energy efficient, something, I don't know, about performance contracts. What a performance contract is, basically, they'll come in, they'll do all of the energy efficiency work, they'll guarantee you a savings on either your heat or electricity. And that savings is used to pay for the financing you use to pay for the work. So it's really, it's a net sum zero. It's supposed to be a net sum zero. We had another conversation yesterday, ironically, with a gentleman from EEI. He's willing to come to your May meeting to just give you a broader outlook and see if you want to go in this direction, and I recommend you listen to him. We'd have to go out for an RFQ, we'd have to bid the project, but I think it's the most affordable way that the district can approach the project. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to put them on your May agenda.
They're pretty, gonna have to bump some of the other things up. You're gonna have a pretty busy May agenda.
We can put the music on in June.
You guys can bump it
Yeah,
off
do the-
however you
yeah.
want.
How much time do you need, Rick?
What do you say, about a half hour?
I'd say half, yeah. You can give me a short and dirty.
The problem is, as everything when it comes to money, it's a timeline issue. Because if this is the process you want to go in, they really need to do an audit next October, and it takes them a few weeks to do the analysis of that audit of your heating systems, your energy systems, and then to get that into language you'd have to put on the ballot, it's likely going to need to be approved by the voters. So, you know, you don't have a whole, even though it feels like it, you don't have a whole lot of time
Well,
to do the project.
Jim, how about if we've got that much going, how's the board feel about starting a half an hour earlier so we can get that in?
The only other thing we have scheduled for the next meeting is the Go Math.
Go math, yeah.
I helped her, I'm helping her tonight, and we put May or June.
Okay.
So
We'll-
it doesn't
we'll
all
look
have
at
to
the
be
task
done in
list.
May.
Rick and I will meet after this, and we'll time it out and see how long, what we can fit in, what can get pushed to June.
And
Okay.
instrumental music might not happen until next
They might
fall.
not be ready, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Rick.
Okay, thank you. Personnel benefits offerings.
I hear you, Pop.
You had an executive session on, let me get the right language, we need, on the consolidation of benefits, if you remember that, and now we need to take a vote to do that, and I have the motion here for us.
Were these numbers run by Rick too, do you know? Did you, do you know?
Yeah.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you do the meeting on all, the coordination of benefits, the the number of different benefit packages that offered, that Joy Cox has been working on. So I don't know if it's been, when you say been run by numbers,
I haven't seen any of the numbers.
yeah.
I'm not approving anything unless they better approve.
Because we were given numbers of the cost.
Right. Let me just pull that up.
No, just for the public's information.
Well, we were giving numbers, cost to the employee.
Right, cost. So this is the motion right here.
While he's looking for that, yeah, I have a little point of order.
Yes.
We jumped over citizens' comment.
What?
No, we didn't.
We didn't do citizens'
That's when we
comment.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Van Hart.
That's why I invited her to come under citizens, because she didn't have to stay.
Yeah, I think you hit something that made it go away. Wait a minute.
Is this something you feel comfortable with, Rick?
Can we do this at the next meeting? Because I would like to have this piece of paper in front of me.
Okay, you had that piece of paper in executive session.
I know, but I
Yeah.
want it in front of me.
Your wish.
Well,
I
can
knew
we
of the
get-
concept was taking place, but I don't know of any numbers or what their numbers were crunched. I haven't seen any.
Because it'll be a public document after we vote anyways.
Yeah,
It wouldn't take effect until July anyway, so we'll have
right.
time.
We have to get the contracts done and ready.
Right, okay,
So we're gonna play it by Rick?
yeah.
Is there cost to the district?
A little,
just
very,
a little.
very little.
Yeah.
It was a small amount.
So
Okay,
what
well,
do we-
Mainly
so what are
about
we doing
shifting
on
some
that?
health insurance benefits. You're gonna table it till the
next meeting, May.
next meeting.
Rick, will you get some?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll- you just sit in when they go over their numbers to make sure they're right.
I'll ask her to send me the numbers and look at them.
All right.
Okay, consent agenda. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Second?
Second?
All right, first and second. Any discussion on the consent agenda, warrants, minutes? I think we have a field trip on the, on that too.
I don't know what to call it.
And no questions? Okay, seeing no questions, a motion, all in favor of accepting the consent agenda? Raise your hand. Everybody unanimous? Okay, thank you.
How should we put that on the task list,
What?
that thing we just tabled?
It's
Benefit
personnel
offerings.
benefit
Thank you.
offerings.
I went blank, totally blank.
It's number 5 on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, education matters, regular education. Jim, you're first, Bennington Elementary.
Thank you very much.
What happened to our other
I appreciate that opportunity.
You're first and last.
Where are they?
Oh, no, she's there.
We
Oh, okay.
are currently conducting the Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium items, testing for students. We're kind of getting our feet wet on it. It's a new experience for us. Seems like things are going okay. Molly Stark, I think, has already done most of it, if not all of it. So we're using some of their expertise to help guide us, make sure that some of the glitches that they may have experienced, we're not experiencing. So we appreciate their help, and seems to be going okay. We'll be holding dial screening on April 23rd and 24th, which is the incoming kindergarten screening to get an idea of students' skills and help us to program for them for the fall. I, with a few teachers, attended the Kindergarten Transition Summit that was held on March 25th to look at transitioning students from early education into public school settings, and some of the things we need to make sure that we look at and consider and plan for to help parents get more involved, to make it smoother, more connected, so that students are more successful. We had parent conferences last week. I'd like to thank parents for participating in that and helping us support their children in making their education as successful as possible. We're currently interviewing people with Monument School for the art vacancy that we have. We interviewed candidates yesterday, limited it to a few candidates, and we'll be asking for a demonstration lesson from those candidates next week so that we can propose a name to the board for approval, hopefully at your May meeting, so that we can get that vacancy filled. We have Bill Atwood, who is a math consultant for us. He does some writing consulting with other schools, but he's coming on Friday to work with teachers on developing math skills and strategies. Active in the classroom, he demonstrates, and students and teachers watch and then discuss with him afterwards what happened, why it happened, why it's good. We have a school book fair next week. We are also hosting, site only, the Becca meeting on Saturday of this week from 10 to 1, which is Early Childhood Collaborative Consortium. I'm not sure what the right word would be, so that early education people can share with themselves, the community, about what's going on and good things in education. Bennell will also be the site of a Agency of Education Educator Equity workshop forum. I'm not sure what that title is either. April 9th, 6:30 to 8. The purpose of that is to let the public have access to the state in their registering their opinions, their thoughts about equal equity opportunity, equal access opportunities for students of poverty, children of need. The state has to rewrite some guidelines, regulations, protocols, according to new federal guidelines, so they want public input to the degree that they can to make wise choices in how they word and phrase and what people have to say.
When is that again?
It is April 9th from 6:30 to 8. It'll be in the Bennell Gym.
What day is that? Is it?
Thursday.
Thursday night. Just like to note, too, that we've been working with Southern Vermont College. We have 3 interns who are working with us and 3 community service students who are working with us. Part of our larger plan, Green Mountain Star, is to help make connections in the community, building partnerships, and we're very appreciative of Southern Vermont working with us to try to do that. It's working out quite well. The students seem to be enjoying themselves, learning lots, and it's certainly helping us out with some of the needs in the building. And we also are getting our after-school programming going. We're not quite as far along as Molly Stark is. But we have applications coming in. Our time frame is from April 20th to June 12th, and we're offering a variety of different programs, and students are registering. So that's kind of the things that are going on at Benno.
You mentioned the kindergarten registration. Are the kids going to the school that they expect to go to for registration, or they just show up at any of the 3 schools?
There may be some changes in, because students sometimes move over the summer, but the intent is for them to come to the school that they anticipate coming to in the fall, so that we can start building relations with
Remember,
the
I think it was
families.
last year or the year before, the people were concerned. They went and they met the teachers, then all of a sudden they were asked to go to a different kindergarten, and the parents were upset that the
Yeah,
kids had expectations for their school, so I just wondered.
Right, yeah.
You should probably have to tell them there's no guarantee that
Yeah,
you're going to be there.
there isn't, and that the line is flexible each year as we try to balance the sizes of all the kindergartens.
That's what happened that year,
Yeah.
too. It was numbers.
And it could happen again this year, too.
Okay, and I guess the other 2 principals had legitimate reasons.
conflicts,
up
yep.
here. Okay, how about under special ed, do we have anything?
Nothing tonight.
Nothing, okay. Number 8, policies. We have policy 5085, search and seizure. It's been warned properly and discussed. We need a motion to adopt it.
I make the motion that we adopt.
Second?
Second.
Any more discussion on it? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, committee board meetings. The food service had no meeting in March. The next one is April 16th. The SVSU technology, no report at this time. And our next SVSU meeting will be April 22nd.
Ken, under that one, under SVSU, I merely wanted to announce that our chairman, Ken Sweard, was elected unanimously to be the chairman. And also, I'm going to ask our superintendent, and I think he's going to cover it anyway, on the preschool grant, which the supervisory spent a lot of time on, and there was quite a bit of coverage in the paper, but there's more to be coming up tonight, so I'll pass on
Discuss it
that.
under my report. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, now it's superintendent.
Wait, can I go back
Yes,
to Jim? I was going to ask you, you're doing SBAC testing?
Yes.
Did I read correctly that the state of Vermont,
holding off.
the Secretary of Education, it wants to ask for a waiver not to do it?
Not to take, they still have to take the test to be in compliance with federal
But the
government.
results are not going to be
The
counted.
waiver is that it's not going to be used to measure the school's AYP, our adequate yearly progress this year, because the test can't be compared to any other test, like the kneecap test last year. There's no correlation between the SBAC tests and kneecap. So because it's a brand-new test, it would serve no purpose that way. So that's what they've asked for a waiver, but we still have to go forward with the test.
And if they refuse the waiver, we could lose funding.
That is the risk, but they seem to be
Thank you for
confident.
taking the
yeah,
test.
that they would get it. Yeah. And if we didn't take the test, we would lose the funding also.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, on superintendent.
Okay. The last month, I told you that we were going to have a legislative breakfast this Monday, and it was probably one of the better attended ones that we've had in a while. We had many of our representatives and senators there. Was the hot topic was the bills before the House and Senate right now that deal with education, as was last week I attended the all superintendents meeting up in Berlin, Vermont, and that really was the major topic. The bills are particularly the House Education bill hit the floor today. The cap of 2% is still there. What we're hearing from our representatives is whether it will survive the Senate. They're predicting probably not, but no one's willing to, until it's all done, no one really knows for sure. The timeline for that, and we will keep monitoring that, and we are in contact, I know Rick is and I am, with our representatives giving our input on certain aspects of the bill. It'll go to the Senate soon, be marked up there, and it'll be somewhere third week of April is the prediction it would come out, and then the last 3 weeks of the session will be fast and furious as they deal with what is the combined, the joined bill of what it finally will do. And there is everything from the loss of small school grants, whose version of consolidation is going to survive, if any. It's, even though we're a month away, it's still too early to see what really is going to shake out and survive. And all I can say is that, as those who are at the legislative breakfast, they want to hear your opinion on it. So, reach out to your representatives and senators to express how you feel about that.
Just not to interrupt you, but I was watching Channel 3 News this evening, and they said that cap, the way I guess they're wording it is that the cap would not go into effect, but next year they're going to look at the budgets. If they're over 2.9 average throughout the state, then the following year they would put the cap on the 2%.
Yeah, that's this week's version. Like last week it was a sliding scale cap, so.
And he said that 1,100, it looks pretty strong.
For the ideal size of a school district.
Ms.
Yeah.
Browning was on, from Arlington, really fighting against it.
Right, because they're too small for what that cap, and the number we had heard from the Senate was even larger, 1,500, so where that's going to be, and there's two other bills that are still being debated. One deals with the right for teachers to strike, the right for school boards to impose a contract.
I thought that was already passed.
No. No.
Not really.
No, not really, because it hasn't gone to both sides yet, along with, and our real concern in that would be binding arbitration, which would.
Yeah, we don't want anything to do with.
No, I would think that we couldn't. And then a third bill that came out of the Senate that would, all teachers and all our staff as mandated reporters on if you suspect child abuse or anything like that, and that bill would make it a felony to anybody who potentially make it a felony for anybody who failed to report. Our concern with that would be a massive over-reporting just to be safe, and so we really don't think that is a wise bill. Understanding, though, why it's there and why it's important, we feel that there already are enough penalties. A teacher or administrator's license is at stake if they don't, which would be their livelihood, if they failed to report. So that's a brief overview of what's going there. We heard that, that we're in the middle of SBAC training. It all didn't start in every school on the same day. We're rolling that out over the 12-week period. I know it doesn't directly affect you, but the search for high school replacement is down to 2 finalists, and the vice principal for the middle school also has 2 finalists. I did site visits with both candidates for the high school principal's job last week. One of the candidates is vice principal here at the high school, so I spent the day at the high school interviewing different groups, administrators, employee groups, teachers, and then I traveled to Richford, Vermont on Friday to spend the day at the school of the other candidate. Her name is Glenda Cresto. She's a vice principal in Richford, Vermont, and bonus points if anybody knows where it is or ever been there. But
GPS.
And it hardly worked up there too. So get to Enosburg Falls and keep going, and if you go to Canada, you're too far. So, Next week, I will do one-on-ones with both candidates for the vice principal at the middle school, so then the principal can make his selection from there.
Which vice principal's leaving at the middle school? Tony or you?
No.
Lady?
Muriel, bring.
Thank you, having a little. So, the other thing that I want to talk about during superintendent's report time, and that's why I have Karen Brunell here, is the preschool expansion grant, which has been dominating a lot of our conversations. I don't know how many meetings we've had on this, Karen, and we've had meetings with Rick too on what the financial impact is on this. And as I've said before, in my heart, I say, how can we not do this? Giving the population here, just to repeat, the expansion, the preschool expansion grant would, for 4-year-olds, basically their day would mirror what a kindergarten student does right now. It's a full day, 35 hours a day. I mean, 35 hours a week. Yeah. It just seems that way today. So, or my ride to Bridgeford seemed like that.
Like that.
The other parts of that, the teachers their salary has to reflect what we're paying our other teachers. Basically, they have to mirror whatever the staff that we would have at kindergarten. But they also have to have the same qualifications, and that's the piece of making it high-quality preschool education, which the studies are showing that, that has a huge impact on a student's performance over the years if it's high-quality preschool education. So why aren't we signing up for it? Because my heart says yes, my brain says slow down. What's going to happen after 4 years when the funding goes away? What's going to happen to that? The same thing that you saw in the 21st Century grant. Great program, the grant goes away. If we don't absorb it into our budget, then it's not going to be there. We should make no assumption that there'd be any money there at the end of 4 years. We need to build that into, if we believe in it, then we need to build it into our budget as we go through it. There is, one could make the assumption that those students would be able to be counted in our per pupil count, but as Rick has pointed out to me, we haven't seen that in writing yet, that is the case. So with that, I'm going to switch to Karen, who's going to give us a little bit of, pass this out of where we are, because what we're asking for you tonight, we're asking you to give us a yay or nay vote that we should pursue this further or not, because the deadline with the state is April 20th. And so tonight's vote would not be yes or no, but I would like a vote from you to show that you want us either to continue pursuing this to the point that we sign the grant, or you have too many concerns for us to go forward. So, Karen.
Did you get answers to any of your 10 questions at all?
No.
And I'll go over that in a minute. So what I've given you is an overview of what the pre-K expansion grant is. It's a federal grant that feeds into the state, and it's a brand-new grant federally, so it's being developed as the state is developing it. So the scope of the work is really to create those high-quality preschool programs that Jim talked about, and it is specifically for our high-needs communities, and of course Bennington's data really is what drew the state to us to include us in the opportunity to apply. It is for 4-year-old children who are at or below the 200% of poverty rate. And there's different ways that you can approach the grant. So you can create new slots that are not currently funded by our state education funds, or you can improve the slots because they don't meet all of the high-quality criteria of the grant. And the components of the high-quality program are the federal definition. Vermont has its own definition too, and there is some similarities, but there's also some differences. So I'm not going to read these to you, but as you go through the list, you can see the references to Act 166, which is our public pre-K bill. You can see the reference that Jim was referring to around credentialing and salaries, and the comparable salaries for the private teachers with the same credentials as our public school system. It talks about the quality of professional development, it talks about the hours, so you see the full day, and as Jim said, it's the equivalent to a full-day program of the kindergarten to grade 3 population. We have to assure that our children with disabilities are included, evidence-based curriculum, and et cetera, et cetera. So those are very similar. The comprehensive services for children, that also is a component of the high-quality program. And I set it aside because there was many different parts and pieces. And some of those, as a school system, we do, and some of them we don't. We do minimally because of resources available to us. But the health screenings, engaging families and family education, parent education, nutrition, we already coordinate our special ed services. So some of them we already do, but you can see that what they're doing is they're taking our 10-hour-a-week public pre-K, which we would continue to do, and this would expand that to a full-day program, full-year program. Not full-year program, full school year program. We're not in, we would follow the school calendar. So it's a pretty wide scope, and it holds in it some very credible pieces that really would make a difference for young children. The state has received $30 million. This is an interesting grant because we're not applying for, they're not saying that you can apply for X amount of dollars that we're splitting between 20 communities, and that number is arbitrary, just as an example. But what they're saying is create a program and tell us how much it's going to cost. And then we'll talk to you about whether or not we can fund it fully, or if we would have to negotiate with them, because we don't know how many proposals are going to come in this first year, which they're getting about $7 million this first year. So as we've been grappling with this grant, we've listened to webinars, we've had numerous conversations, and we have many questions that we feel we need answered by the leadership team. And in order for us to really develop a proposal. And those questions are somewhat concerning to me and concerning the rest of us, because we really feel we need more information before we can really come to a board and say, this is what our proposal will look like. So let me just tell you some of the topics of our questions. The grant really wants the classrooms to be integrated. But yet they're saying that we have to prorate costs. So integrated meaning that all children could be part of the class, including children with disabilities, children that might not meet the income guideline, but we would only be able to use the grant as it now stands, or it seems, to cover the children that are in that 200% and below. So we're asking questions. If you want integrated classrooms, then is there a way to give us more information about proration? We'd like information about supplanting. Many of you know me, and I'm not the kind of person that likes to build programs that all children can't participate in. So if we get these federal grants, how can we use those federal grants and the other multiple funding sources of grants that we have so that we could apply the same principles of high quality by the federal definition to the classrooms that we have? We don't want to have children have to leave at part day while other children stay full day. So we need some more information about that. We also need more information from them about the children who are at the actual 200% of poverty down to 185. Many of the tools we use in the school system for free and reduced hot lunch get us to the 185% of poverty rate and below, but we're looking for a tool that will get us that last 15%. So we're asking for information about that. We also would like to know more about the standards that the state would hold us to as far as federal, state, and local auditing, because it is a federal grant, and we know that federal grants come with very strict guidelines. We'd also like to know what our liabilities are. Suppose that we get income proof and there might be a misinterpretation of eligibility, or we might miss families. So what's our liabilities there? The question about will we be awarded 100% of our project costs for 4 years? And if not, can we terminate our relationship? What's going to happen about sustainability? How are we going to sustain beyond year 4? And they are planning to hire someone once the grant is approved. The grant, as of our last knowing, and maybe it's been done since we've talked to the team, still was sitting in joint fiscal committee in Montpelier because they have to accept the funds for the state. So once that's done, they're going to hire a couple of staff members to help with the grant implementation. One would be a finance person to help guide folks with the year 5 question. We wondered if we could, since we have so many questions and the state is still working on getting the answers for us, and again, they're working with the feds who are still trying to really define everything, could we implement in FY17 instead of 16 as an option? We wondered about, and we also wondered about transportation costs. We know that transportation costs are allowed, but we don't know if all the parts and pieces of that are covered. So those are just some of our questions, but there are a lot of questions. And it's going to take us some time to be able to get the answers to these so that we can really think about coming back with a proposal to the board, and we have a very short window of time. And I think, what Jim was saying in the beginning is we need to know what the preference of the board is, of whether or not this project is something that you want us to continue to pursue, or if it's something that we shouldn't, because if not, then we'll stop.
I have questions.
Me too.
Okay.
Karen and Rick and Jim, facility-wise, you didn't mention.
Same question. We all have the same question.
Have we, even if we were receptive to this, do we have the facilities to handle this?
This is very similar to the public pre-K model, that you can have the children in your school-based programs, or you can have them in your community-based programs. But the community-based programs have to meet the criteria, and they have to follow through with all of the components.
Certified teachers.
Certified teachers.
So
All-
my
all the
follow-up
time.
question on that is, who hires these certified teachers? Who oversees this program to make sure that it's all the same?
It's a great question. It's a great
If they're getting
question.
the money from the school, then you would have to be involved in that, right?
We have a liability, I don't know, Rick, if you want to share what you shared earlier to me, with me.
Yeah, see, in reality, as we are a sub-grantee of the state from the Fed, our partners would be sub-grantees of us, and it would be our responsibility to make sure that they were delivering the quality that's required within the grant. Otherwise, we'll have to pay back the money.
So let me just, I know you're saying no, but let me just finish answering your question. And I'm not trying to convince you, but let me just finish answering your question. We would not be responsible for hiring a teacher to a sub-grantee. That would be their responsibility to do that. It would not be ours. But we would have oversight responsibilities, which
I would have
are
a problem
big.
with that,
Yeah,
too.
I would have a huge
The
problem with that.
oversight responsibilities would mean that you would check credentialing, correct?
We would have to assure that there was a mechanism to make sure, sorry, wrong sheet, but we would have to make sure that all of these components were in
But we
place.
wouldn't have
The
day-to-day
real answers we're really not sure. We know based on other federal grants and what we've heard, that it will fall on our responsibility, but
How bad can it be?
how, we don't know.
It seems,
The real plus of this whole program, even if it's not all in this building, even if it's in the other associated buildings or people, is that it builds capacity for the so-called daycare centers to move up. And it builds the capacity for the people who are in those centers to learn more. It's like on-the-job training for some of them who are aides to it, And it also, I'm sure, it includes training of some sort.
Professional development is part
Professional
of it.
development has to be
Yes.
part of it.
So-
And you're right, Jack, I mean, this is, the potential for what this can do for students in particular populations is
Oh,
immense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have no problem with
The concept.
educating four-year-olds. My whole problem is doing partnerships and not knowing where the money's gonna come in 4 years, because I'm one of the ones that said, I don't want another grant to come across this board unless we know how we're gonna fund it.
If there's no money in the next 4 years, I mean, how bad can that be? If the quality has gone up for 4 years, and then all of a sudden, we can't fund it anymore, how much of that quality is going to just go away, if that includes training and overall learning for everyone? And those kids that were there for those 4 years, I mean, that's not gonna be lost.
We have to pay the teachers. We have to figure out
We have
then
to
how to
keep-
pay all those teachers.
But how do we know that that's gonna be a huge problem? That's what I wanna know. I mean,
Well,
We
And it's
do
similar
know-
to when when you went from partial day kindergarten to full day
Full-time.
kindergarten. There was a lot of incentive grants around to do that, but they phased out because the idea was that you would absorb it if you believed in the concept, that you would absorb that into your budget.
I think the concept is good, but I think it's safe to say that the government is not going to fund this forever. So I think that what we're looking at is that eventually this would be a mandate that will run out, and that the cost of it will then come back to the budget. There's no way that the government's going to
No,
run.
other than what we said, if it gets to the point then we're allowed to count those students in our per pupil count, then there'd be, funding for it that way, the same way we
Yeah.
get money for first graders
Yeah.
or second graders. But again, we haven't seen that in this proposal yet, but I think you could make that assumption that that's gonna happen. But I sit here with a deadline saying, I can't promise you anything, but other than, there are some great components of this for a population that sorely needs this.
But we also complained when they mandated 3- and 4-year-olds coming to school, even for 10 hours, and we complained that they made this mandate without the money backing.
Right.
Here they're giving us the money backing, even if it's only for 4 years, they're still giving us the money backing. Could we, in 4 years, cut it back to the 10-hour time?
Well, you could eliminate it in 4 years. I mean, there is no mandate, there's no requirement that 4-year-olds have to go to school, like, and there isn't for kindergarten either. The first time you have to show up for school is first grade. So, yeah, I mean, you just like you did with a lot of the Mosaic program went away, and now we're hopefully we put money that survived the budget to go back into next year to support that. You would have to go that route.
And I guess my other concern is if facilities become an issue and we have to put it into the students into off-site, that after the training's done, we lose control of the oversight.
Yeah, without the money coming directly from us, then, or through the grant as us the agent, we would lose that
We lose
oversight.
control, but we are responsible if anything happens,
If we don't have
is
control,
what
we're
I'm,
responsible.
We
No,
do, because
no.
we're
If we don't
subcontracting.
have control,
but we're the grantees. We still have responsibility
4 years.
for 4 years. We have responsibility, but we don't have any oversight.
we don't know
If
that.
I
don't
understood
really
that
see that as
correctly.
much more difficult than what we do now with making sure that our current teachers are certified and qualified. I mean, there'd be another group of it, but
But there
I
are
don't.
teachers.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know how we would build this capacity. Would we do it through our own staff? But I don't think it all would be, because we don't have the physical space for it, and we need to include
Right.
partners, right?
And there's no guarantee that we'll get all the money we need to, in other words, if you sit down and say, we're gonna need 7 partners, so we're gonna need 7 teachers, we're gonna need 7 paras like we do in kindergarten,
Right.
1 for each. And
Yeah, we
you
could
come
ask
up
for-
with $8 million, they say we'll give you 5, we could be $3 million short.
Well, we wouldn't be short. We would hopefully know our budget before we unrolled anything, and then we would have to scale back
Right.
based on what we got. So there wouldn't be any money actually spent till, so we would give our proposal, and you're right, we say we need $350,000 to do this, and they'll say, well, in their analysis, we're only gonna give you $250,000, and we would have to cut $100,000 out of it to
Make it work.
scale it back, yeah.
Don't we, as a board, need to know more about this whole thing before we do anything?
Well, I think
I
we
mean,
need her
when-
answers anyways.
When Karen, the person, and Jim, and Rick bring up these questions, how can we make a decision when we've got all these questions that they're asking us, and they're,
And that's why we brought it to you, so.
Yeah.
Right, they're asking
Yeah.
us to move forward in order to
Yeah.
get the answers that they
Right.
need.
Well,
When will they give you those answers? Have they said that we'll get back to you by a certain
Can we
date?
move forward and then say, nah? Can't we move forward, say yes to it, and then when the answers come down and we feel that it's overwhelming, yeah, I'm sure there's a cut.
I mean, is there a back door?
That back door is quickly closing and probably gonna be nailed shut, but it's just, unless the state comes back and said, we're hearing April 20th, and then there is a May date that could be that back door, but
right.
we'll have, one more meeting, that's why we're discussing this tonight, we'd have one more meeting.
Why do we always hear about these things when our backs are against the wall?
We just heard about it. I mean, we just, at the SVSU meeting, which was last month, I mean, we haven't gotten specificity. We knew that Vermont was applying. We were asked to participate potentially way back when they applied, but they're just unrolling it this as fast as we're trying to get the information to you.
If you remember, at that time, I signed a memorandum of understanding on behalf of the school that said that we were signing on as a subgrantee, but until we have full votes from the board, we're not really in. And they took that modification to the memorandum of understanding. So that was when we went to that first meeting way back before Christmas, I
Jack,
think.
you
it
have a
was.
question?
So, just so you know, the webinar, the first webinar that they had, or the first conference call that they had to give out the information about this grant to us, there was 2 opportunities. One was March 4th and one was March 13th.
Yeah.
And we were listening to it on March 13th. So that's when we first got information, was March 13th. So,
18 days ago.
so, you know, we haven't had it a long time.
Need a motion?
Well, wait a minute, before you do that, how many kids are we really talking about?
We don't know.
We don't know.
If we based, we don't know, really, we don't
I
know.
mean, we had the number of, 84 at one point. And that's because when they were building, when the state was building their federal application, they needed numbers from us, and somewhere, I can't remember where, Karen, you came up with that number of 84.
Well, I based it on what we're serving this year, and I looked at the free and reduced hot lunch rate. And we found that 72% of our population was the 185 and below. So that 85 number was solely what the children we were serving, but we don't know that they're in environments that would qualify to be a partner.
Right.
And
It
those,
could be as high as 120 if that's only the 72%, right?
It could be as high as every 4-year-old that you have that's gonna come to kindergarten, if that's the all you want, minus who's maybe gonna go to Head Start.
right, remember, this does not include Head Start children because they're their own subgrantee.
So what would that number be?
We don't,
Because they want the 200%, right?
Yeah.
But we know that you can't have integration without the other students, so
Right.
what would the total be?
Somewhere about, well, you have in kindergarten right now, what do you have, about 130, 135 students
Right.
in kindergarten, so, I mean, it would stand to reason it would be some, total 4-year-olds or somewhere in that range,
And
minus who's Head Start, because they're as Karen said, their own sub-grantees, so they're doing this independent of whether we do it or not.
Right, and we're already paying now for 4-year-olds for 10 hours, correct?
Yes.
That
So-
stays.
That
That stays no matter what, because
We're
that's,
paying for it.
Yeah.
Right, so,
budget for it.
so it's just a matter of, I mean, of those 4-year-olds that we're paying for now, what percentage of them would be qualified under this 200%?
Don't know.
We don't know the 185 to 200. So out of the 4-year-olds we're serving now, and I did not take out the Head Start, or I did take out, I'm sorry, 85 of those, based on this year's number, 85 of those would meet the criteria up to 185%. But those are the 4-year-olds now that we know where they are. We have to be thinking about the 3-year-olds now, and we haven't found all the, and so, because that's going to be next year's 4-year-old population, and alls we have of them right now is about 150 names, but we haven't had time to verify them yet, and we don't know where they're located, so we've got work to
In
do.
theory, the money that we've already set aside for 4-year-olds for 10 hours a week could help us pay for the other.
No,
No?
That's already
no.
Spent.
planned and being spent.
Yeah.
No, what I meant is if these, the 200, the so-called students who are 200% below the poverty level, they would not benefit from what we are already paying for. So that money that we don't pay for them could pay for the other ones who aren't.
No,
because they would probably say they were supplanting on those original 10 hours.
It's
so
just
we-
expansion that this pays for. You have to pay the first 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
We're on the
just
hook for the first
expansion.
10 for every
And that's the other
student.
confusion. Everybody thinks that this grant is paying for the entitlement that was
Yeah.
passed last year.
No.
Totally two separate X.
Two programs.
Totally.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
state was ahead
happens to be
of, the
same-
state was ahead of the curve when this grant came on. The state had already done their universal pre-K. Now this is expanded pre-K, so there's two different terms going in.
I would think that would be another question to ask them.
no, it's.
It's on the list.
Already asked.
Well, it's already, and it's very clear that there's,
You may have to.
all 4-year-olds have to be part of the universal pre-K. This is above and beyond the 10 hours. It's very clear in the conversations that we've had with the state.
I philosophically have a problem with sticking with the 200, whatever, because I think all kids, we're a public school entity. And public school means we educate all our kids. All the kids who are of a certain age, unless their parents decide to send them someplace else.
And the state is telling us that's the model they want. They want an integrated,
Yeah, and that's gonna cost them.
expanded pre-K so all students, not just those identified students.
And that's why we have the question about supplanting, because if you could reorganize the finances that we currently use, it'd be interesting to see how far we could go to meet that standard without adding anything else.
Yeah.
But we have to have that supplanting answer.
Also about the standards and the state or local standards, if, would this apply to the curriculum? And so could institutions that are already working, could they lose control over the curriculum that they already have? Would that be a problem?
They would need to use an evidence-based curriculum, and not every place is using an evidence-based curriculum. They might be using parts and pieces of very high-quality curriculum, but we have to look at evidence-based. And that's something that we're doing at the state level and the local level right now, looking for curriculums to follow.
Okay.
So it's not so much losing control. It would influence what they're doing, but it doesn't mean that they can't also have multiple things in your toolkit as you would for all children. So,
And there's concerns that the partners, even with, I'm just assuming that we would manage it similarly that we manage the partners in the entitlement program and pay them a tuition. And there's a concern that, some of our partners that may have 3 or 4 kids that qualify under this, we'll pay them that tuition, but it's not enough money for them to go out and get this program or to get the teacher. So is that putting a hardship on them? And it boils down to, it's kind of been kicked around here, it boils down to it's too much, too quick, too early. I mean, if they could clearly let us do this in FY17, it's possible. But you all know, or, with the exception of Genevieve, but, going through a budget process, Karen hasn't had a chance to design a program, to give to me to price a program, to figure out whether we can afford the program. And we can't do that until we get a lot of these questions
Ken,
answered.
can you call the question?
Yeah,
If
call
there
the
is- I don't know if there
We're
is a
going to go
question.
through this over and over and
Right.
over.
Call the question.
Okay, this is whether we want to support the continuing move forward on this.
We need guidance, yes, about whether we are
Okay, all in
moving forward or
favor
not.
of continuing forward with this grant
I don't have a
application?
motion.
The expanded pre.
You want a motion? I thought it was a straw vote, just to.
No, I think you should put it
Okay,
in.
we have a motion.
that we
Has to be in a
contin-
positive.
I know, I'm doing it. I make the motion that we instruct Karen and Jim to move forward on this grant.
Second?
It's got to be second, so we can vote.
I'll second it.
Oh, wait, we got a second. Genevieve second. Any more discussion?
All those in
Please,
favor?
Well, yes, I have. What would you do, Jim? Would you say yes or no?
His heart says yes.
not a board
it is-
member.
right,
No.
it says-
That's up to the board.
It's up to the board.
I'm an educator first, so I think that we always should, move forward to educate our children, and I see a strong need for this. How we would do it, I don't know. I am concerned with all the questions, but as an educator first, and that's why we're here tonight. Karen and I talked long and hard about this, and so, well.
Can I amend my motion? Unless they are given a continuance to, what year was it?
FY '17.
FY '17.
Or how about they said there's a date in May? Or that would be after.
Not long enough.
Well, if it is, you can always bring it back to the board.
Yeah, I mean, if we get an extension to May and we get more questions, we would, more answers to our questions, we would be back here, regardless of what we do tonight.
Call the question.
All in favor of moving forward with the grant? One?
I'm confused now.
Okay, two? Against? Three? Fails 3-2.
Okay. But we
think
hear
you
you,
should.
but we're going to continue to monitor it, and if we get our answers and we can have more time, we'll be back. I understand
Call
your
us,
reluctance.
We'll be back.
Yeah, including if we have to call a special meeting, but we will suspend operations as far as bringing it to other boards, I believe, because you are the biggest part of this, and just so you know, Woodford took the same vote this afternoon, but I didn't want to tell you.
Oh, really?
I didn't want to tell you that before we voted.
They
so-
refuse to do?
For the same reason.
For that one kid.
Doesn't have any impact.
That's it.
Okay, under,
Let's get out of here.
Can I go back to the consent agenda?
yes.
Molly Stark has Monument has a field trip coming up to,
For New York Nature.
Teacher's classroom.
it's very beneficial. It's a wonderful program for fifth graders, or any grader. And I was wondering if this board would consider, in the future, finding a way to fund it for all fifth graders. Because this hit and miss, Benel went a few years ago. Molly's probably never went. Monument's going this year.
Yeah, bring it up for the budget season next year.
Specify where they're going.
It's nature's,
It's the Adirondacks.
Silver Bay, New
It's-
York.
It is truly a week-long classroom in the woods.
and they come back really excited. I had two grandchildren
Well,
that
I
went through
have
it.
actually been to Nature's Classroom many times as a teacher, and yes, I have, and it's a wonderful program.
my
I
God.
strongly, and Shaftesbury is sending their fifth graders this year. They're doing a combination of budget money and parent fundraising, so that
I mean, maybe there's a way that we can work it into the budget somehow. I don't know, Jim, sharpen your pencil over there.
well, we could bring you back a proposal of what that looks like,
All right.
what the costs really are.
Yeah, we need to know what the costs are, but I would like to look at that coming up. At
Yeah, is
the,
that going on the task list there? Yeah.
Yeah,
Future
Yeah, we'll
review
talk
of
about it in
Nature's
September.
Classroom. Yeah.
Yeah, my granddaughter went, she loved it.
So they're going a nice time of year. I always had to go in February, you know.
Oh, it's cool.
All right,
Okay, looking at the minutes of the last meeting, I don't think this board voted to authorize the chair and the vice chair to sign warrants like in July when we have no meeting
No, we
or an
didn't.
emergency situation. I think, can we have a motion to authorize the
So
chair and
moved.
vice chair?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Again, what that means is if we cancel a meeting or in July when we don't have a meeting, it lets the chairman or the vice chairman go sign the warrants in behalf of the board.
All right, you have a motion and a
Okay,
second.
all in favor?
That's all they did.
Okay. And the other, I was going to talk about the update of the legislation, but Jim did that. The other thing is that, just a reminder that the Vermont School Board Association next coming Monday is having, offering a workshop on the essential job of a school board member in Vermont. It's at the Manchester Elementary School. It's starting at 5 o'clock next Monday. And I do have the phone number. You should call ahead. They usually have a meal, some light meal first, and then they go right into the workshop.
I had Mary Lee forward that email to all board members too.
did you?
So, yeah,
Yeah, we all got it.
yeah.
Okay, any others?
Yes.
Yes.
At our budget meeting, we discussed collaboration time
Yes.
and moving our teachers from 7.5 hours a day to 7 hours a day, so they would have a half an hour collaboration time.
Right.
And we agreed to that. We all agreed to it, but we never made a motion and made it formal. And we have to do that to make
How would you
it,
like it worded?
I don't care.
Or why don't you make the motion?
I make the motion that we reduce teachers' contact time,
Student day, student day.
student day, from 7.5 to 7 hours.
Second.
Is that right, Jim? 7?
I believe so, yes.
We're the only, by the way, we're the only district that was having our students here for 7.5
All
hours.
right, moved and
Just didn't know the
seconded.
exact number.
call the question.
Any other discussion?
The student day is officially 8:25 to 3:25, so that's, there's everything is in the wording, so to speak.
Okay.
In that they're allowed in the building from 8 to 8:25, at least at Bennell, for breakfast and kind of get in and get ready. But their actual day starts at 8:25 and officially dismisses at 3:25.
So you're okay with this?
Well,
That's 7 hours.
the timing,
So why don't we,
We can do it at the next
yeah,
meeting.
we'll do this, let's
Just
get
come up
together
with
and work the
some-
right word, because
Okay,
we
pull the
probably
motions.
should propose a new schedule. That might be the best way to do it. So at the next meeting, have the schedule to vote on what the new schedule will be.
All right,
May's gonna be a busy meeting.
yeah.
But that's only a 5-minute thing.
Yeah.
And, brief update, teachers' negotiations is still going on. You read their proposal to us, and we didn't accept it.
Okay. Any others? Seeing none, a motion?
So moved,
Motion to adjourn?
so adjourned.
Second.
Second. All in
No
favor?
executive session?
No.
Oh.
Do we,
Superintendent,